Well, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Ham Radio Basics Live, Season 3, Episode 33, Ham Radio News and Updates, September 24th, 2025. Want to apologize for not being available last week. I was sick on Wednesday. There was nothing I could do. I am so sorry that we weren't on last week. I do apologize for that, but got some things lined up for you today. Hope you guys are doing well. Andy and Cooley, welcome. Glad to see you guys have stopped by today. And those of you who are watching out on X, Twitter, feel free to go to the link that has the YouTube link so you can join the chat as well too. It's always great to see people in the chat. Really appreciate that a lot. Hope guys are doing well. I got a special commentary at the end, and I think you guys will enjoy it. I hope so. But anyway, one of the big things for me coming up for the end of the year, I had been wrestling about getting the Yaesu FTX One Optima, the full on, being able to use it, either. Hey, Jeff, welcome. Good to see you. Thanks for stopping by today. Whether you get the, I really didn't wrestle with that because, the Optima, you can have 100 watts at home and then you can take it out in the field like a 705 and do that as well. And White Point, New England, welcome, my friend. Good to see you. Thank you for stopping by. Been kind of wrestling with that and thinking about it and watching a lot of the reviews out there and everybody's trials and tribulations and everything. And, really kind of toying around with that because it won't happen until later in the year. I get a bonus at the end of the year. And I was thinking about that. But come along, Icom comes along and say, you know what? We're going to put out an upgraded 7300 called the 7300 MK2. And wow, that put the brakes on everything. And, really kind of in a quandary here as to what I'm going to be doing. And I just wanted to go over the radios again, just to go through some things. I know you guys know a lot about the FTX One, and you guys have gotten up to speed on the MK2, but we're going to kind of go over those a little bit here. They each have their pluses and minuses and things, and I just kind of wanted to go over that and see what you guys thought. Just kind of throw things out here. So, okay, we're going to go over, and what I'm going to do first is I'm going to go over and show you what's out on Yaesu's website and what's out on Icom's website. And then we're going to go to DX Engineering to show pricing and some other things here. So let's go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and share here. All right, this is from Yaesu's page right here. HF 50, 144, 430 megahertz, all mode, wide coverage, SDR transceiver, FTX1 series, FTX1 field, and FTX1 Optima. Okay. That's the field. It doesn't show. Yeah, I'm sure. There we go with the Optima right there. Okay. And you guys really know about that. HF, VHF, UHF. And it shows the different memory that are available in here. There's some promotional videos here. There's a great description on what's the difference is between the field and the Optima. Now the field, and one thing that you do need to know, it has 6 watts. It's not 5 watts. So when it's on battery, so that's very interesting. Just to kind of let people know about that. And of course, the FTX1 Optima has a 100 watt base station as well. And the one thing that Yaesu, we're not going to do it. They did it. They put out a cable so you can mount the Optima in your truck or car and run the cable up to your dash or wherever you have the head unit at, and use it in your car. And it really, I thought it made sense, and everything. And then I saw what the cables were, 5 feet and 10 feet. Now, 5 feet isn't really going to get you much of anything. Maybe you can mount it under a front seat, but I mean, normally a lot of cars these days have electronics under that front seat, either one of them. So that's kind of next to impossible. So you have to try to mount it under the back seat. And I know in a lot of trucks, that back seat comes up like mine. Well, it comes up, but because mine's a hybrid, it has batteries in there. So you really kind of can't use that. But be that as it may, let's say you go ahead and mount that in back. All right. 10 feet from mounting that in the back, when you fold up the seat and putting it underneath the seat and running the cable, you're going to have to run that cable to try to hide it. You're not going to, just throw it on the floor. So you got to snake it over to the side, get it under the carpet, run it all the way up there. And you know what? That's going to be a lot more than 10 feet. All right. It really is. You have to find a place to mount it because, of course, you're going to be, this is really going to kind of be a permanent mounting, so to speak. And you got to find a place, in the back, and then you got to find a place up front. And by that time, your 10 feet is going to go really quickly. And I haven't seen any updates as far as that was concerned. I was kind of hoping that they would do that, make it like a 15-foot length and maybe even a 20-foot length, but, we'll see. And the other thing is I haven't seen, and unless Jeff or Andy or Cooley or Waypoint New England, any of you guys have seen any videos on installing that in a vehicle. I've looked several times and I haven't seen anything yet. I don't know if anybody's done it and if they've had any success at it. And I'm really kind of curious to see if that's a possibility. So the other thing, mounting it in a vehicle, you can still use that head separately. Excuse me. You can still use that head separately. So you can go out there and do POTA and other things. Just realize, you're going to be getting 6 watts on that. Okay. So, you have options available with this, and there's different configurations. Now, I know a lot of people there's been a lot of trial and error with this. Okay. I know Mike from Ham Radio Tube, he had it out, had some issues with it. Excuse me. Yaesu found some of these issues. They corrected them via firmware update. Then some more issues were found out, and I think they corrected those as well. There's a lot of trial and error, and I think a lot of people, need to go back when the 705 came out. And correct me if I'm wrong, and I don't know if you guys, okay. Okay, great, Jeff, thank you. Oh, Hammer A to Z. He closes sources where he got the cable. Oh, that's fantastic, Jeff. Thank you. I'm definitely going to be looking at that. Thank you for letting me know about that. That's something I've been wow. Okay. That's very interesting. And I think my problem is I've been looking at typing Yaesu cable in there. And if it's a homemade cable, that's a different story. But Jeff, this will be a great video. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I'm going to go out there, and then the show notes. That's fantastic. I'm going to go out there after the show tonight and take a look at that. Okay. So, it's been done, and it's been done successfully, apparently, because I know Jeff knows he's friends with him. And that's a good thing. I mean, that's very interesting, being able to get mounted in a vehicle and get it working. I mean, that's fantastic. You have a lot of options with this. Okay. And that's one of the things that I wanted to kind of stress. If you want to use it not in your vehicle, if you want to use it at home and then take the head unit off and go out and do POTA with that, or just go out and play radio in a park or something, you can do that as well too. So you have options with the FTX one and the Optima on there. It makes it real interesting. It makes it a very versatile kind of setup. Now, I don't have to tell you that the Icom IC7300 is just, it's golden. All right. That thing has been through the fire and then some, and has worked flawlessly. Okay. The menu system on there, and I'm preaching to the choir. You know how easy it is to work the menu system on there. It's a snap. And it really, even for somebody who, let's say they're like a new ham, and let's say they bump themselves all the way up to get an amateur extra, and they have access to all the bands. even a new ham who's really kind of experienced can get on there and get up and on the air in short order, getting that hooked up to an antenna and a power source, and boom, you're good to go. I mean, that's fantastic with that. And, the signal on there, everything. There's just so much on there. It's just rock solid. There's so much to it. Well, Tokyo Ham Fair this year, and that's where we saw the FTX one last year. Okay. Tokyo Ham Fair this year, Icom announces this. All right. So let's take a peek at that and take a look at that and see what the highlights are from that. So hang on a second. Let me go ahead and bring that up. Right. There we go. Okay. Icom unveils new IC7300 MK2 HF 50 70 hertz megahertz transceiver. Okay. They said initial shipments are planned by the end of 2025. So it's not going to come out even for Christmas. It's probably going to be after Christmas. I would say probably January or so. Enhanced performance, improved RMDR and phase noise performance, carefully selected components and optimized DC power design. RX standby current consumption reduced by about 23%, lowering heat generation, which is always a good. First for Icom HF radios, HDMI port for connecting to a large external display. That is fantastic. Built-in CW decoder decodes Morse code without a PC. Wow. Having that on there, that's tremendous. That is absolutely tremendous. Other highlights, separate receive antenna connects for RX antennas, filters, and preamps. USB Type-C with dual virtual COM ports for simultaneous FT8 and logging operation. Built-in LAN for easy remote operation with optimal RSBA1, no server PC required. Supports newly allocated 5 megahertz band, and that's over in Europe here. Packed with features for series operators, the IC7300 K2 is ideal for contesting and DX hunting. Okay. So, let's call this radio like it is. It's really a base station. Okay. It's obviously not a car radio. And although some have gone out there and used the 7300, Smoking Ape. All right. Wow. I am honored, my friend. Thank you for stopping by. No, a 7300 MK2. I'm just thinking about, and that's what I'm just getting into right now. That's gonna be for home. Okay, that's gonna be strictly for home use. Although, I know a lot of people have taken 7300s out and have done POTA with them and have done it successfully. And that's a possibility for those of you that are wanting to upgrade and have a 7300 now. Don't sell that. Take it out and do POTA with it, and I think you'll be pretty pleased with it. You can buy a nice case from not Harbor Freight. I'm trying to remember who the other one who builds Pelican. Pelican builds some great cases, and there's a video out there on that. I know there is. So, but conversely, this is really kind of a different mindset in terms of a radio compared to the Yaesu FTX1 F and Optima. Okay. While that is really kind of considered portable / mobile, this is really considered more of a base station, even though, like I said, people use it out in the field. This is more of a base station type radio, and it's offering some tremendous features with this. Okay. That CW decoder. Wow. A monitor, external monitor, less power consumption on there. I mean, these are some remarkable improvements with that. And having that CW decoder, okay, that's piqued an interest in me because you know what? Quite frankly, I'll probably never learn CW, but to be able to find a station and they're doing CW and finding out what they're saying would be fantastic. I would enjoy something like that. And, quote unquote, listening to a CW station, and you could watch and say what's saying. So, I mean, that's very interesting. I mean, having some USB ports on here as well. They've kind of come up with the times with this. And I think, it offers a lot and a pretty good feature set. And from things that I've seen now, as far as pricing is concerned, people are talking in about the $1,400, $1,500 price range, which I think is pretty reasonable considering the 7300 right now is roughly around $1,000 or so. So, that's kind of where things are for that. Right now, of course, and we'll go out there and I'll show you, you know, most places, and we'll let me get the screen up here. Most places are taking reservations for it right now, and of course, here it is right here for DX Engineering, Gigaparts, and Ham Radio Outlet are doing the same. And it's a $35 reservation. It gets your place in line. So, again, I've always said, this is something that you have to have when it comes out. Get your reservation in, because what they do is they put them in order that they receive the reservations. And when they get stock in, that's how they allocate them and charge you for that. So if that's something that you want to do, go ahead and do that. Now, the whole mindset of all of this, I mean, if I had unlimited pockets, or if I hit the scratch offs or Powerball, it's not a question of which, it's a question of both. Okay. But, I don't have those kind of deep pockets. And I know a lot of you don't have most of those kind of deep pockets out there as well. I know Smoking Ape does, but for the rest of us, just kidding, Ape. But for the rest of us out there, it presents a choice. And, it depends upon what you're looking for in this instance here. Okay. Are you looking to upgrade your base station and get some great additional features on there with an external monitor? Now that's a first for Icom. I mean, that's fantastic. Having that HDMI port on there, that really speaks volumes, because I know guys that have hooked them up to monitors, but they had to go through a lot of hoops to do that. And this sounds like it's pretty much plug and play, and it's up there, which is fantastic, because if you know anything, you see most guys that establish hams that have nice ham shacks set up, they have monitors, and they have monitors hooked up. Almost all the Yaesu radios do that. So I think it's, Icom's Icom is coming together with the times. Okay. Oh, that's good, Abe. Yeah. That you're right. The 7610 does. That's a good point. Thank you for saying that. So for Yaesu to do this, I think or Icom to do this, I think it's fantastic. All right. And especially for what many consider, a base HF type of 100-watt radio. I mean, it's really it's received a great tune-up, so to speak, okay, with the features that they've added to it. And again, you're looking at two opposites right here, okay, with the Optima and with the MK2, and it depends upon what your needs are, okay? The Optima is very flexible, all right? You can have it as a base station. You can take it out and do SOTA with it, or just go out and play with it out in the field. You don't necessarily always have to do POTA, or, excuse me, hook it up at home. You're good to go. You got a 100-watt base station right there. People have enjoyed it. It's at the point now, people have worked through a lot of the kinks of the FTX one, and it's good to go. People are enjoying it, and I'm seeing some good things out there about that. Conversely, what you have to go on with the MK2 is the history of the 7300, and it really kind of has an impeccable history. But it is the 7300. Shannon, welcome. Thanks for stopping by today. 7300 has a good history with it. Okay, it's been out for a while. All right, and it was in very kind of sore need of a tune-up. So this is what Icom has done with the 7300, and it's really great, especially. And I think a lot of things, if you really want to look at it, one of the things I think that draws a lot of people is the 23% less power consumption, which is, I mean, that's fantastic. Okay. I mean, you have less power consumption on something like that. You have the HDMI ports, you have the built-in CW decoder. You don't have to hook that up to anything. That's fantastic. USB ports on there as well too. Filtering sounds to be a little bit better on here. So, all in all, it really kind of depends on what you're looking for. If you're looking for something that's going to have multiple versatility in use, you go with the Yaesu FTX1 Optima. If you have something, if you're looking for more of a base station, then you go with the Icom IC7300 MK2. Again, it all depends on what what you're geared for. Well, for me, okay, right now I can tell you this: the more that I think about this, the more I'm leaning towards an MK2, and the reason for that is I have my Icom IC705. I mean, that is, yeah, I'm going to be really hard pressed to find a radio better than that. I love that thing so much. Okay, my only complaint is that 100 watts. It's QRP, which I'm preaching to the choir. You guys all know what I'm talking about that. So so I'm kind of leaning towards the MK2 right now. I'm hoping, and see, that's the thing. A lot of you guys know, and I know Waypoint New England knows, I have a drone channel as well too. And a lot of times the content creators for drone channels, they get a sample unit ahead of time. And here with ham radio, more often than not, that doesn't happen. Okay. So you really don't know until this radio comes out. And then the large content creators like Jason and Josh and our Smoking Ape, he's getting up there. If they get a unit to test, I mean, it's something that they get to borrow. And what's different with ham radio, excuse me, what's different with drones is they pretty much give you that unit to keep. Now, I've heard now it's like it's kind of like you pay 50% of it, but still, that's kind of your bonus. But of course, you're generating content and you want to be favorable with that content that you're generating for that. So, all in all, it's a lot of food for thought with this. And I kind of wanted to talk about this and bring this up because I know a lot of people have talked about it since the MK2 came out, and it's given them, like me, cause to pause, so to speak. I'm not rhyming on purpose, but time to sit back, reflect, and think through what your decision is going to be. And I'm kind of leaning towards the MK2. And those of you who have 7300s, obviously you can sell them if you want. And yeah, you're right, Jeff. Absolutely, absolutely. You can sell your 7300 you want, but I'd kind of encourage you maybe to use it to go out and do POTA. Yeah. Yeah, Shannon, that would be a good replacement for the 891. I love the 891. The 891 is a great and fantastic radio, but the big thing to me, and I think, if like you're a Yaesu fan, I'm a Yaesu Icom fan, it doesn't really matter to me. The menu system, and the 891 has probably, I'm going to say, out of all the transceivers that I've used and have been around and have had experience with, it probably has the highest learning curve. Okay, it is a great radio. It does a fantastic job. I know guys have had them for years and they have just been workhorses. But the big thing with that, is that getting used to that menu system. It really, yeah. Yeah, it is. Aesthetics are important to me as well too, and I can understand why you'd be leaning towards an FTX one, especially if you want to try to get out there and replace your 891. I mean, like I said, that 891 is kind of tried and true, and everybody's has one. And I think one of the frustrating things is when you use something like the 891, you're getting in there and you're tinkering around with settings, and then all of a sudden, sometimes it didn't set right, so you have to go back and go into the menus and do that, and it's really kind of yeah. I think that's my only thing about the 891 is that menu system on there. It really is a steep learning curve, and you just gotta go with the flow with that. But it works great. It's a fantastic radio. I don't have any complaints about it whatsoever, none whatsoever. So, all right. One of the things that I wanted to do, that wraps up, quote unquote, what I really wanted to talk about today, taking a look at the MK2 and the FTX1 and kind of comparing things. And I want to thank everybody for joining me today. One of the things that I'm going to do here in the last 5 minutes here is I'm going to have a little commentary. And I did this on my drone channel as well, too. And, September 10th was a really tragic day in this country. It really hit hard and hit home for a lot of people. And one of the things that I wanted to say real quick about this is growing up for me, all right, there was one word I was not allowed to utter while I was growing up. Now, I could cuss. My dad really didn't like it, but my dad was in the Navy, and he could cuss up a blue streak, which is fantastic. And so could my mom. And I learned well, okay. But there was one word that was tantamount to getting your mouth washed out with soap. That word was hate, okay. From a time I was 10 or 11 years old, if I said that word, wow, I got reprimanded in the strictest way from my mother. All right. She instilled in me in no way, shape, or form you to use that word. And to this day, I do not use that word. I use the word dislike. I do not use that word hate. And I think that's something we probably, all of us need to kind of adopt. Okay. I can disagree with you. You can disagree with me, and that's fine. The bottom line, let's call it like it is. Okay. We love ham radio. All right. All of us love ham radio. Okay. You know, different flavors, different, CW, DX, it doesn't matter. QRP doesn't matter. Okay. We all love our things. POTA, it doesn't matter. We love this hobby, and this hobby is a great hobby. All right. And I've made a lot of friends in this hobby as well too. And yeah, can you have disagreements? Of course you can. Okay. But you know what? It should never ever resort to any kind of violence ever whatsoever. And I think that's one of the things that we need to kind of come back to in this country, is to kind of turn around and just, be done with the violence. It just, we need to get there. We need to get back there. And I want to thank you guys for this time right now. Waypoint New England, thank you. And Alan, thank you for stopping by. I appreciate that as well too. That's kind of it for my commentary. I just wanted to come out right now and I said something like similar on my drone channel as well too, because I love all you guys. You guys are fantastic. Great comments always. Great in the chat. I want to thank everybody who stopped by today. Shannon, especially, you were here first time. Alan was here. Waypoint New England, of course, Jeff was here. Andy was here. Ape was here. Wow, we had ham radio royalty with us today. The Smoking Ape was here. Okay, wow, that's absolutely fantastic. And Cooley was here. Thank you guys all so much, and thank you for a great chat. You guys were fantastic, engaging. Shannon, welcome back. You're welcome to come. We're on every Wednesday at 5 p.m. Eastern. Same with you, Alan. I know this is like the first time. It was just absolutely fantastic having you guys on. We appreciate the dialogue and the conversation. As always, if you need to reach out to me, hamradiobasics@gmail.com is my email address. Always available for that. You can always ping me there. Leave me a message. I will get back to you probably same day. So I check my email every day. So, guys, hope you're keeping it real. Have a great rest of your evening. And as always, it's a great day to make a QSO. 7 3s, everybody. Have a great rest of your evening.